DLS Soul is a revolutionary grassroots movement. We're a non-profit organisation that was set up about 5 years ago to help tackle social isolation and loneliness, primarily in dads. But we've also sort of grown to be one of the UK's most innovative events and publishing company. Our mission here is to use arts, technology, music and play to get men talking. You know, unfortunately, there's 96 men under the age of 45 being lost every single week in this country. And it's because men don't talk. A lot of those, obviously by their age range, are dads. Primarily, I think we're best known for our events because it's a great way to get men talking. So the last 5 or so years, we've done 110 different events, including 30 of the first of their kind intergenerational raves. We run a quite successful online community where dads can open up and build friendships. We've run 7 regional groups. So these are our play dates. So essentially the dads and kids meet up once a month in different sites and have a different theme. You know, it doesn't matter if you've got 100 grand a week or £100 a week. When you've got you're doing the midnight feed and your baby's crying because they're teething and all they want is mum, you feel like a failure. So we're breaking down those barriers. I was in the corporate world for 20 odd years, but a few things happened. My own dad died and I reevaluated things because I got very ill because I'm a man and I don't like to talk about stuff. And I started just putting on these events to try and make some friends and get some sort of different community cohesion. And then quite by chance, I was introduced to the sort of profit-driven, the purpose-driven community where we can actually do good things for a wider issue. And there was a moment, I think I'd done a couple of my big scale events, these afternoon raves, and somebody came to me and they said, this is one of the most franchisable ideas I've ever seen. You're going to be loaded. And it just stopped me. And I said, I don't want to do that. That would just take the fun out of it. So we became a community interest company where all the profits are put back into the mission. But for me, it's more about the stories. So there's one lad, we're calling Magic Dave, as he's known, and he joined us about 1.5 years ago. He was actually signposted by his ex-partner. They split up in the height of lockdown. He was really struggling with a new baby. So then Dave started joining our online events. And he'd sit there in silence. He wouldn't even have his camera on. And then the next event, he came along and he was still in darkness, didn't say a word. And then his confidence continually grew to the point now where he travels, I think it's 1.5 hours each way to come to our event. He's started leading our groups over in Chichester. And I got this email from his ex-partner just saying their relationship has changed dramatically. His confidence as a parent has grown, his confidence as a human. He's got mates, which is a very small thing, but a very, very important thing. Dave now acts as a mentor for some of the other young lads that come in, and him and his ex-partner are now collaborating on, we want to launch in Brighton. So they're reviewing sites. So we've got this couple that were potentially at war with each other. They've come together. And I think, you know, from a human point of view, they've got a better relationship. He's a better dad. He's got an outlet, and their daughter's going to see some incredible benefits from that. So that's Magic Dave. And then there's a lovely story about a lady called Vera Chalmers, who's unfortunately no longer with us. So 5-6 years ago, I'm sat in a cafe having a business meeting. This lovely old lady sits beside me and starts talking. 3 hours later, we're still talking, right? She's 97. She'd outlived all her family and friends, but she made an effort, rather than be stuck in front of the telly, to go out every single day. And it was like talking to somebody from Downton Abbey. You know, she used to be in service during the war and all of this stuff. I was like, I love you. I just love you. So I said, you know, what are you doing New Year's Eve? And she said, nothing. I said, do you fancy coming raving? And she did. So she came along to one of our New Year's Eve parties that we put on 6 hours earlier. She became the world's oldest ever DJ. Stood on a crowd in front of 1,200 people dropped We'll Meet Again by Vera Lynn in the middle of a rave, and had all these people sing back to her. And it kind of led me on this journey that, you know, the events were primarily set up for young families because we couldn't get a babysitter, but the elderly can't go out and have an evening. The same goes for, we partnered with a beautiful organisation called Stay Up Late, which work with adults with learning difficulties. Because, you know, say you're 20 years old and you want to go raving, you can't because your support worker clocks off at 6 o'clock. So they matched able-bodied music fans and sports fans with other adults. So we would bring them all together. So you'd have somebody in a wheelchair or with Downs next to a pensioner, next to a 3-year-old, all with their hands in the air, having it large. And, you know, I think it broke down so many barriers. It started conversations. It's not the, oh, you know, you're in a wheelchair, so you're a bit different, or you're the old lady that just barks over the garden walls and tells us to stop playing football. It's actually, you all like a good knees up. Brilliant. So there's a few other couple of highlights. So the first event that we did, you know, that was from 10 weeks from idea to completion with 1,200 people that were travelling from, you know, London and Brighton over to this sleepy town on New Year's Eve to celebrate New Year's Eve 6 hours early. We had a Wurlitzer organ come through the stage, mashing up David Bowie. We've got Vera on the decks. We've got somebody that used to work at Big Chill doing the projections, circus performers, jive dancers. But what we were able to do, you galvanise that community. So we'd keep the costs, the ticket price, very low, because it shouldn't just be for, you know, wealthy middle class people to have this level of entertainment. But what we do, we put a bit of caveat on there. So it'd be every time you buy a ticket, come along, bring a tin of beans, bring a bag of pasta, bring a toy. And then what we're able to do is collect those together for a wonderful charity we used to work with that offered a food cafe for people on low incomes, or we did a toy drive for victims of domestic violence. So the idea is you come raving, but you have a social conscience. And that's the wider impact. The other sort of particular highlights is, you know, the fact that I've had emails from Australia and Berlin and the States, and our story is resonating with people on the other side of the planet. And I've got men that I would never meet opening up about their own challenges and struggle, and you can see their development. On a personal thing, he's nearly 10. I've got the boy that started this all off for me. He's knowing that he's growing up with a dad that didn't sit on the sidelines. He saw a problem and he started a fight. And I think that's a really, you know, to get social activism into young people at a very early age is I'm very proud of. I think businesses as a whole need to do better. You know, unfortunately, with my day job, I work for a business change consultancy called Always Possible. So we're working with local authorities, charities, non-profits, B Corps, and you can understand the benefits that you can have on this. So if you're a traditional profit-driven, you can do better. You can put your money where your mouth is. You can put your time where your mouth is. It's okay to say you care, but make sure you're not part of the problem. And the benefits of that, it could be, you know, B Corps, for example, they tend to grow 80% faster than other organisations. Consumers, they're acting with their hearts and their minds, not just a price point. You get to attract and retain the top talent. You give your staff something to actually to believe in. Or even if you're looking in, you know, into local authority tenders, for example, 20% of the tendering process now is around social impact. So don't think that CSR, you know, giving your staff the odd hour off to do something nice for the community, just so the boss man can get a big check in their local paper or a photo of a big check. No, it's rubbish. Don't do it. Okay. Actually use your skills and your experience, your talent, and give back, because that story will resonate in so many different ways. So that's what I think. Yeah, don't be part of the problem. You could need to do better. So the sort of advice I'd give to somebody that's maybe just starting out is make sure you get yourself into as many conversations as possible with very different people. Traditionally, we think in silos. That needs to stop. Think about your story. What's the thing that puts fire in your belly? Because people that work in non-profits, we're not here for the money. I haven't taken a salary out of DLS in 5 years. This is my voluntary work on top of a day job, on top of family life. But I do it because it puts fire in my belly. And it's hard work because you'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, doubting yourself, thinking how you're going to pay the bills. But you'll also wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with an amazing idea that can have an impact on somebody's life. Other bits of advice: don't listen to the doubters. There's going to be loads of people that just tell you not to do stuff, and they're idiots. Just don't do it. Be prepared for some excessive highs and some very low lows. You know, when the pandemic hit, primarily as an events organisation, we nearly went bankrupt. You know, it was tough going, but as I mentioned, the fire in your belly, that's what took me through, because I think actually the people that we need to help are suffering even more now. So if we fold, they're screwed. So that can't happen. And the other thing is, know that it's worth it. From a business point of view, make sure you measure your impact. Have if anybody wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn or something like that, I'm doing this as a deep dive as part of my role. So it's not just, how many people did you get to an event or how much money did you donate? It's the change that you make. What's the cost benefit analysis of it? So if you help somebody with social isolation that's maybe suffering from mental health issues, traditionally the model would be they go to the GP, get a bottle of Jollop, and they're on there for 10 years. That costs the NHS thousands. But having social interaction, social intervention can stop that. So understanding about what the impact is you make, how you measure it, and then how you tell those stories. I'm really positive. Say during COVID, I hit some very, very low times. There was a moment I can particularly remember. I was in the shower after I'd had 3 or 4 weeks of not sleeping, because I'd taken on a new job at the time as well, and thinking, I don't have time for this. What the hell? I lost 95% of our directors and volunteers because everybody had their own issues to deal with. So I had to kind of reimagine what it looks like. So the future now is exceptionally bright. We've got a load of new partnerships coming. I want to launch DLS in 5 new areas this year. So we are talking to a tech innovation makerspace down in Brighton to give access to low income families, cutting edge technology. We're working with 2 new social housing providers as well. So if you've got dads that maybe are generationally unemployed, or they've been redundant or on low incomes, they're even more isolated. We're working with a lovely charity that works with families that have children with additional needs. So we're going to relaunch our SEND sessions, and a very exciting project that I've just been approached. I can't say too much, but it's with a local authority and Public Health England, because there's a huge issue, obviously, with wide social issues like knife crime. But it's a lot of those young lads don't have positive male role models in there, and they're not going to interact with them. So with our level of innovation, we're attacking this at a very different space. So I'm looking to create a really lovely pilot for that could potentially be rolled out. Because if you're 14 and you're trapped in this cycle with county lines and knife crimes, you're not going to listen to the old fart on the other side of the desk telling you need to do this or that. We need to break down some of the barriers. And then we've got another partnership that goes ahead with a co-working space group, but they've got 11 sites around the southeast. We're going to reimagine what business networking is, because I'm sick of going to events with a business card and a glass of wine. I want real conversation, honest conversations. So they're donating this amazing co-working space. It's got pool tables, we've got VR headsets. We'll have on-site wellness experts, conflict resolution experts. Dads can come along, have a cup of tea or a beer, chat, maybe meet people outside of their social circles. From that, we find the common interests. So some of our dads have just got into sea swimming, Other dads goes, I quite fancy doing 5-a-side, but I'm a bit unfit these days. And so would I. They've launched Atlas Soul United. One of their dads is a nature photographer. I'd really like to know more about that. Fine. He's leading that. So it's about breaking down his barriers, bringing in, especially some dads from maybe the social housing projects that we're working into a business environment that they can grow and build confidence with. Essentially, just bottom line, just let men have conversations so we don't have that, that horrible stat that I mentioned at the beginning. It comes down.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm feeling really positive. I just kind of wish it was around, 30 years ago when I was at school as an actual valid career option. It wasn't. My outlook on life then was so limited with the social reference points I had. I never had access to these sort of conversations, but hopefully now it's going to grow and we're going to encourage some brilliant young minds to come in and completely revolutionise what we're doing at the moment. I think, as we mentioned earlier, more businesses are going to get turned on to doing it because they realise, bottom line, well, it will increase your bottom line, but you're going to have a happier, healthier workforce. Your name is going to be known in the community as people that do good and stand for something. There's still a lot of learning to be done, especially around as we mentioned, the impact measurement. And I think the more we can knowledge share and create tools and assets that can get out to, the wider community, it could be the one-man bands, social impacts, or the larger organisation. This is the challenge. What's your theory of change? What is the difference that you are trying to make? Give them the tools to do it. Then that creates the ripples because people will see their stories, that will resonate with them. And hopefully, bottom line is it's going to continue to grow. And the people that don't get on board are the people that are going to be left behind. It's a bit of a head turner, to be honest. We are a very small but extremely dedicated volunteer team in Worthing, but we're having impact around the UK and other ways. So for that to be noticed, to be on people's register, is brilliant because, it's nice to have from a person a pat on the back to go, actually what you're doing, guys, it means something. But I think for us to have a bigger platform to tell our stories and show it and find some new partners, I think that to me is the bigger picture because the pat on the back is one thing, but I work for the cause, not the applause. And that's what I want.